Hi guys, I'm going to share with you today how we save money by using up our food leftovers. So with the food that we cook in the evening, we generally, if we have leftovers, eat them the next day for lunch. So today we're going to have what we had for dinner last night. And so I'm just going to show you what we've got for lunch today. So my family had macaroni cheese last night for tea. Now this is cold, it's just come out of the fridge. So I'm going to pop that back in the oven and heat it up, really thoroughly heat it up to make sure it's safe to eat. And they're going to finish that off for their lunch. And as I don't eat dairy, I don't eat meat, I had last night a Malaysian coconut style tofu with vegetable curry. There's a tiny little bit left in the bowl, but I didn't want to waste it because, you know, it's expensive stuff, isn't it, that tofu? And I've got rice left over from last night. Now, I cooled that down very quickly last night and popped it in the fridge and kept it covered up and safe. So I'm going to pop that in the oven with a little bit of water, cover it up and heat it up until it's absolutely scorching hot. And then I'm going to eat that. Now, if there's anything left over from that rice, I'm not going to heat it up again. What's left over is that will be put in the bin because just for safety's sake, with the issues with rice. But I'm not going to waste any of this food. It's all got to get eaten. And like I say, this is what we did have for tea last night, and it's what we're going to have for lunch today. So no leftover waste in our house. So while our lunch is heating up, I'm going to share with you a few other ideas and tips and tricks I have for you for using up your food leftovers. So the first one is if you've got any bits of fruit and vegetables left over, so for example, bananas, if your child doesn't eat a whole banana or you only fancy half a banana, just pop it in a little food bag or a little Tupperware box and pop it into the freezer. And when you've got enough, you can use them in smoothies or juice them up, and that will be an excellent way to use up your leftover fruits and vegetables as well. If you like vegetables like celery or other things like that in your juices, or maybe even a smoothie. You might like celery in your smoothie, but definitely in your juices. So if you've only got like a little bit left or one stick and you don't know what to do with it, just pop it into a freezer bag or box and keep it there until you've got enough to make a smoothie or a juice. Alternatively, if with vegetables, you could also do like stock. Save up your vegetables to make, like if you've got half an onion, like I say, the celery stick, you could save them up in the freezer or in the fridge if you know you're going to have a few left over, and make some vegetable stock with it. So don't throw away the bones from your meat, so your lamb bones or your chicken bones, whichever. You can also make a lovely delicious stock with that if that's what you choose to do. Also with fish bones, you can make a lovely fish stock with that if you're into making fish stock. So you're going to save yourself a lot of money there instead of buying those, because they come out very expensive and you don't get much for your money either. So another tip for you is if you've got any leftover bread, pop it into the freezer, and when you've got enough you can turn that into breadcrumbs to use on toppings, so on like on a crumble or a pasta bake, or if you're going to make your own fish cakes or pancakes or anything like vegetable pancakes sort of thing, you can use them on those. Breadcrumbs, you can also make croutons with them, cut them up and make little croutons with them to go on your salad. Another way to use up your leftover bread is to make bread sauce. So if you're into making bread sauce, you can make a lovely little sauce to go over with your meal. And another tip for using up leftover bread is to make a lovely sweet bread and butter pudding or a bread pudding. Both are different. One's more of a dessert and one's more of a cakey type thing. Lots of recipes on the internet for those. They were always a staple in my home when we were children. My mum liked making those and we loved eating those. So they're all good ways to use up your leftover bread and save you money. My next tip is for bananas. Don't waste your bananas if they're going spotty and brown. Personally, I absolutely love them when they're like this. I don't like them when they're green. I find that they're much sweeter when they're spotty and going brown. So quite honestly, I eat them just like that because they're a lot sweeter and they're much tastier. But if you don't like them like that, don't waste them. Pop them in the freezer, because you could use them in banana bread. You can make put them in pancakes if you're making pancakes. Make muffins, banana and blueberry muffins, or banana and bran muffins, whatever takes your fancy for a muffin. Sorry. Bananas, you can also, like the first one, make smoothies with them once you've frozen them. There's so much you can do with bananas. Bananas, you can also use them as a substitute for eggs if you've run out of eggs. So if you have food leftovers that you really cannot eat, perhaps like peelings or such like that, that's getting a bit extreme, but if the peelings you could use for compost. If you're into gardening, and that's a good way of saving you money, and that way you don't have to buy compost, because you're making your own out of your vegetable scraps and paper around the home, etc. So what if you've just had your Sunday roast and you've got a leftover chicken? How about considering again making stock with that, using it the next day to make a chicken pie? My family love that. Chicken and bacon pie, they really like it when I make that one. Or you could make chicken soup with it. There's so much you could do. Chicken pasta bake with it. Use the chicken in sandwiches. There's so much you can use the leftover chicken with. And if you've got vegetables and potatoes left over, don't throw them away, because you could use them the next day for bubble and squeak. Now, a bubble and squeak, again, was a staple in our family. When we was a child growing up, my mum would never waste anything from the Sunday roast. In fact, she would never have wasted any of the food. It would always get used up the next day. But with the bubble and squeak, fry that up the next day to go with your meal, and you've got a lovely little side accompaniment. It is particularly lovely when it's all crispy and crunchy. So here's one for the children. If you've got any cereal that are left over, so maybe some Rice Krispies or cornflakes or Cocoa Pops or anything like that your children have had, and then they suddenly decided, and I know this happens, my children have done this, they've gone, I don't want those ones anymore, can we have a different one? Firstly, I would be encouraging my children to finish off what we've brought, so we don't waste any money. But if they've brought something, that we've brought some new cereal that was on offer that they really didn't really like, so I would turn them into cake. So it's the tried and tested good old, say for example, Rice Krispies with chocolate poured over them, and turn them into like little Rice Krispie cakes, or put marshmallows in them to make them super gooey. You could do that with your cereal, and the children would absolutely love them. So how about if you cooked pasta for your dinner the night before and you've got some left over? Don't throw it away, because you can make a lovely pasta bake with it. You can also keep it cold and put some salad with it, or cook up some mixed vegetables, or add some cheese or an egg and have it for your lunch the next. It would be perfect for a packed lunch, for school, or for if you're going to work, or even taken out on a picnic. So I think our lunch is almost ready and heated up thoroughly and ready to serve. But before I go, I just want to give you two more ideas I have for using up your leftover rice. Now, one is because I don't have dairy, I have rice milk, and a lot of the times when the milk is too expensive to buy in the shops, I make my own rice milk with the rice that I've got left over. I ordinarily would make that up immediately once I know that I've got leftovers, and not let it sit around too long. But the other one is I use the leftover rice for making a savoury rice. So I put some mixed vegetables in there that I've previously boiled, maybe some tofu, some chicken. You could put a boiled egg on the top once it's all heated up thoroughly. But some onions and some mushrooms fried up and put with it. So I put it in an oven-proof dish, and I pop it into the oven with some turmeric, some curry spices. I also add a little bit of a stock cube that I've melted down. I don't want too much, but I add that to the rice to make it all nice and soft and to help steam it in the oven. And I cover it up with some silver foil, or you could put a lid over it, whatever it is you want to cover it with, and pop that in the oven until it's absolutely roasting hot. You want it boiling, because it's pre-cooked rice. And once that's done, you're going to have yourself a lovely savoury rice, and that quite honestly is delicious on its own, or you could serve it with another dish, another main dish. So that's a good way of using up your leftover rice. So there's absolutely loads of things you can make, bake and ways to use up your leftover food, and there's no need for throwing it in the bin, and there's every reason to be saving yourself some money. And all of these recipes can be found everywhere on the internet, and they are all absolutely delicious. So I hope this video has been of some use to you. If it has, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, a like, and perhaps consider sharing and subscribing to Frugal Living. But anyway, until next time, you take care. I'll see you again soon. Bye.